Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Crazy story out of Florida. A couple people tipped me off to, Michael and Grant, and it's from a TV station on there called WFLA. People found out that they might not own their backyards. You bought a house, it's got a backyard, it's fenced in, but you might not own it. And so obviously mistakes were made, but it's a strange situation. Holiday homeowners discover they don't own their backyards, and one even got a trespass warning. This is out of a town called Holiday, Florida. Better Call Benkin is the news channel that covered it. That's the name of the show on WFLA. Shannon Benkin wrote the story. Mysterious land trust owns 20-foot wide parcel behind 9 homes. 9 homes are affected. They're all on Bigelow Street, and they are panicking now, trying to solve a problem that they didn't know they had until recently. Several homeowners just learned that a mysterious land trust in 2008 bought a 20-foot wide parcel that stretches behind 9 of their homes. It was land that was long abandoned and was sold at a tax auction. So this happened apparently 12 years ago. Even though many of those homeowners say they did not hear a peep from the land trust until recently, they now have to figure out what to do. The land is included in fenced-in yards that many homeowners thought they either owned or could use. One homeowner received a trespass warning saying she can't step on the property and she cannot go into her own shed unless she gets there by going around the property. Another homeowner says he must either tear down his pool or negotiate a deal with the landowner, but he doesn't even know who the landowner is because the landowner will only communicate with him by text messages. That man says it's ridiculous that this could happen. He bought his home in 2016. Says he and his wife chose the property in part because of the fenced-in yard where they added an above-ground swimming pool the next year. He's learning that the entire piece of property where the pool stands is actually owned by the land trust. He can charge me whatever he wants. He can trespass me. He can put whatever he wants back there. He can come swim in my pool. There's nothing I can do about it. As crazy as that sounds, this buyer's beware nightmare is making its way down Bigelow Street as homeowners are learning what they didn't realize when they bought their homes. And this oddly shaped 20-foot wide property behind 9 homes doesn't belong to them. Public records show a group known only by the mysterious, it's a phone number, land trust, acquired the long-abandoned skinny parcel in 2008 after paying delinquent taxes of $1,146.85. The entire parcel is listed with an appraised value of $937. That's by the Pasco County Property Appraiser's Office. Now, Schneider, the man with the pool, is discovering he actually doesn't own any of the land behind his house. His survey shows a 10-foot utility easement right behind the home, which he can use and maintain, but the survey doesn't specify exactly what is behind that easement. He said that as a first-time home buyer, it never occurred to him that the fenced-in backyard didn't come with the house. He says, I was completely baffled. Now, if you ever buy a home, generally they suggest that you have a survey done and that you buy title insurance to cover things like this. The only name that shows up in public records is the land trust's funky name, which is a phone number, and its attorney, who is the trustee for the trust. Now, he says he understands the plight of these people, but he points out that the trust acquired the property legally. I have empathy for them, but my hands are tied. He says he's spoken with the owner of the trust and will be speaking again about solutions to the problem. We know where this is going, right? Money. The attorney said his client wants to remain anonymous, and he explained that that's why land trusts like this are created in the first place. Investments, like this oddly shaped parcel, are appealing because investors hope to buy the land and make a profit later when the land is desired by people such as these neighbors. The attorney said this isn't personal, it's just business. And he says that the neighbors should have paid more attention to the surveys. Now, one of these people had a survey done which lists the land trust portion as a vacated easement with a shed and her pool pump on it. She says she was told she could use and maintain the property, which she has now for 4 years. Now she's received a trespass warning. She says that she offered them $2,000 to buy the little piece behind her, and she was turned down. They said, nah, it's not enough money. So the attorney apparently told her the landowner wants money, and it's going to be more than you can do, whatever that means. The Pasco County tax collector calls the situation outrageous. What's amazing to me is that people, individuals, how can they be so mean? He said, there's more important things in life to do than to be mean like this. As for the land, it's only valuable to an investor wanting to sell it to these homeowners, because that's the odd part about it. If you've got a piece of property that you own, there's this weird chunk behind it that someone else owns. They can't get to it either. You can get to it. So they have you over a barrel, but you're the only potential buyer for it, really. So it's kind of a weird standoff there. While the situation sounds unusual, the person from the office said it can happen in many neighborhoods, particularly in older ones. That's why it's important that you make sure you get a survey when you buy a home and make sure you know how to read it. In one case, the survey shows a 10-foot utility easement, but doesn't specify what's beyond the easement. And he said he wrongly assumed that the fenced-in yard behind the house came with the house. No one explained that to me. The yard was a big reason why we chose the house. Of course, in his case, or in the other case, the survey didn't point out the land trust property at all, which is what title insurance is for. So I've bought in my life 4 pieces of property where went through the process of looking at surveys, buying title insurance, making sure everything checked out. And also, even though I am an attorney, I've actually had an attorney other than myself look over all my documents for me. And now I know many of you are saying, Steve, isn't that pointless? Like you're an attorney, you could save money, do the work yourself. There's an old saying about attorneys who represent themselves. But I'm not going to go there. The point is that I don't specialize in real estate law. I don't specialize in that. I don't do that. Okay? So I know an attorney who does. I brought this to her and said, here, look this over for me. She looks it over. She comes back and she goes boom, 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 and points out all the things that I should be concerned about. And then we discuss them and decide whether I should take more action or not. But also, title insurance. And that's one of the things that's missing from the story. No one mentions title insurance here. And title insurance is a policy that you get that covers you in cases like this. That's one of the things it covers you against. And generally speaking, if you take out a mortgage on the property and there's a bank putting the money up, in essence, to buy the property, and then you get to live there while you pay the mortgage off, the bank has an interest in making sure that you got what you bargained for because it's the collateral on their loan. So I'm a little surprised because it looks like it said 9 different homeowners along this stretch had their property affected this way. None of them had mortgages? Or did they actually have mortgages and the banks don't care? That's strange to me. So there's a few mistakes that were made here, not the least of which is that as a homeowner, you want to look at the survey. And I can tell you, I've seen a survey for every place I've lived. And the funny thing is that a house I bought a couple houses back 20 years ago, 23 years ago, something like that. If you walked the yard, you'd see obvious lines where there's a fence line down this side, and then there was a hedge down one side, but no fence, just a hedge. And when I saw the survey, I realized that my property went past the hedge. And so when I was talking to the guy next door, the guy goes, oh yeah, he goes, no, your property, and he showed me. And he knew it because he at one point in time had owned the entire piece of property. He was an older gentleman, very, very nice guy. Still remember him well. And he had built the whole house that I bought. And then when his family got larger, he built a bigger house next door, moved into that house, and sold this house. And I bought this house way down the road. And he said there was a time when there was something else there. I forgot what it was, but there's something else there. He goes, so your property line comes, and he showed me, and it was what matched on the map. And it was unusual because if you didn't see that, you wouldn't know that. And now this guy next door, in my case, this is long before the bad neighbor I had. This guy was a very, very nice guy, and he said, absolutely, this is your property over here, just to let you know that. Later on, I took the hedge down simply because I didn't like the hedge, and he had no problem with that either. But the point is that these are all things you need to be aware of. And so as a consumer protection attorney, I can tell you that there are several large purchases you'll make in your life. The largest purchase usually is a house. Second largest purchase usually is a car. So I know other people buy some things like RVs and boats and so on that might break into the top 1 or 2. But the house purchase, the home purchase, is so big that it does justify involving attorneys, realtors, surveyors if necessary. You need to see lot surveys. You need to talk about title insurance. You need to know all this stuff. And so unfortunately, when someone says, I bought a house and I assumed the property was mine and I bought it, they've already made a mistake. Now, some people are going to wonder, what about adverse possession? And adverse possession is something that would be a possibility. And I'm not sure what adverse possession is in Florida. Some states it's 20 years, some states it's 15 years. But in some states, if you have a piece of property that you exert dominion and control over, and you pay taxes on it, and you keep it clear, and you use it, and it's obvious that you're using it in an open and notorious fashion and so on, after a period of time, it can become yours due to adverse possession. I suspect that what triggered the letters now, considering this is 12 years after this property was purchased, I suspect that the person's doing this now so they can say, hey, we put these people all on notice that they cannot adversely possess that property and take it from us. I suspect that's what triggered that. So, yes, it does come into play, but I'm betting that that's what's going on here. So, weird story out of Florida, but Holiday, Florida, homeowners discover they don't own their own backyards. From WFLA, Michael and Grant sent it to me. Thanks a lot, guys. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Be the light that helps others see. It is what gives life its deepest significance.